Let's talk about Yorkshire puddings. I've had a message from a lovely lady in America. Hers are always a bit of a flop, so I said I would do a quick and easy recipe. If it's a bit long for you, press the fast forward button, which frankly I think is missing from real life because it'll get people to the point much quicker. Right, so what you need is beef dripping. This is traditional. You don't have to use it. You could use oil, or is it Crisco, something like that you use in America. It's the same thing. But you need to put some in a pan, not a smear. You need to put a good bit in the bottom of your pan, and it needs to go in the oven, a smoking hot oven, until the fat is smoking hot, like smoking. So that's what's going to give you your raise. Then you need a mug or a cup if you only just want to do a few. Whatever vessel you use, you're going to use the same measurement for each thing. So you need a cup and a jug or a bowl for mixing. Use a jug because it's easier to pour out of it. So you get your mug and you fill it with your dry first. So plain flour or all-purpose flour in America. So you fill it to the top with your plain flour, tip it into your jug. Then you fill it with eggs. Not a cheap commodity, I understand, at the moment in America, but nevertheless, you need to fill it with eggs. I'm not sure, it depends on the size of your eggs, or if you've got duck eggs or whatever, is how many it's going to take to fill it, but it is what it is. So you fill it with your eggs, and then you tip that into the flour, and then you fill it with milk and into the flour, and then you mix it, but don't go too mad because science or something releases glutens or whatever, and then it'll go tough and they won't rise. So you can put it to rest in the fridge for a couple of hours, even overnight. I don't really bother. I'm normally lastminute.com and try and get it done as quick as possible, you know. So you can leave it to rest and it'll be fine. It'll probably separate a little bit. You'll have to give it another stir before you use it. So the tin. Oh, also you could put a bit of mustard, dried English mustard powder in the mix, but I'm going to tell you a reason in a minute why you shouldn't, and wait for that. So the tin, this one's seen better days. It's had many a use, and I can't remember the last time I used it actually, but a muffin tin, and then you, so you could use a muffin tin for a regular size portion, or you could use one of these Victoria sponge tins, and then you've got an individual sort of like receptacle to put in beef stew or something that you've had bubbling in the slow cooker or anything really. You could put a whole roast dinner inside it. That's kind of fun. So you keep all the gravy in anyway, it wouldn't be running off the plate. So that's what you could use that for. If you want to be fancy, you could make these tiny little canopy ones, and what you could do is make the Yorkshire pudding, then put some like shepherd's pie or cottage pie mix in. The difference is cottage pie is beef, shepherd's pie is lamb, bit of mashed potato on the top and back in the oven, or cheese on top, whatever you want to do on top of your mashed potato, and then you can serve them at parties and people will think you're dead posh and dead clever, but it's really easy. So that's that. Then you can also do it in a big pan, like a roasting pan, and you put the oil in, put it in the oven, screaming hot, smoke coming out of it, blah blah blah. Put some sausages in it, put that back in, cook the sausages for a few minutes, then pull it out and then pour over your ready-made batter. Now, once I go about halfway up the tin, maybe not that much, maybe a bit less, maybe a third up the tin, and back in the oven, screaming hot, and then it'll rise up. Now, when you think it's cooked, it will not be cooked, so you need to leave it another 5 minutes. Whatever you think is done, it's not done, promise. So, the secret thing I wanted to tell you about, excuse me as my saddle as old as the hills is creaking. The thing I wanted to tell you about, the little secret, is if you don't make them sweet or savoury, what you can do with them is put them in a bowl with some ice cream and some syrup on top, which sounds weird because it's supposed to be for a roast dinner, but really it's the same ingredients as what's in pancakes. So why not? So I hope you have more success with that. It's a no-fail recipe. So as long as the oil is screaming hot and you've got the oven hot and you've done everything that I've told you to do, you'll have puffy Yorkshire puddings. I do understand apparently that if you're at altitude it affects your oven, but you'll know all about that. I know nothing about that. And the other thing is that there's a trend lately of doing your roast, so your beef or your pork or your chicken or whatever, doing it in the oven and then pouring the batter around it and putting it back in. And when I first saw that, I was like, oh my God. But really it's the same principle as a toad in the hole, which is the sausages and all of that. So I don't really know why it's weird. So if you want to try that, give it a try. So try the recipe, let me know how you get on and follow.